Hey guys, what's up? So if you're following my channel, you know that a while ago I made a video about working conditions at Apple. And while it sounds really prestigious to work for Apple, they're actually quite horrible in terms of work ethics. Meetings being called in at 12 o'clock at night, 16-hour days every day and all that kind of stuff. I'll link the video down in the description, but now I just read this from an outside perspective, quite funny article on Kotaku, which relates to the working conditions at Konami. And it really looks like Konami is pushing terrible work ethics to a new level. All this is based on an article from Nikkei, which is basically a large Japanese media corporation, and they released this article which basically accuses Konami of 5-6 different points that are really, really horrible. It sounds like Konami treats their employees like prisoners, and not only like prisoners, but it sounds like a really terrible dystopian sci-fi future vision. It's really bad. I just want to note that this is just a rumor. I think Kotaku has reached out to Konami for confirmation or any statement related to it, and that was 7-8 days ago. Nothing has happened yet, as far as I'm aware, so I don't know what to make of this. Quite often stuff like this just turns out to be true, but who knows. Anyway, disclaimer is, this is just a rumor, it's a story, someone spoke out, and we don't know definitely whether it's true, but just let's go through the points and just see what's actually going on, because it is quite disturbing. The first point on the list is, and I'm just reading this out from the Kotaku article, Kojima Productions, the studio behind the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 5, is now simply known as Number 8 Production Department. The computers in this section, Nikkei says, have allegedly not been connected to the internet for a while, and employees in this section are only able to send internal messages. I'm assuming this is to prevent leaks from happening and uncomfortable information to go out, but it's already weird, if you're working on a video game and you don't even have access to the internet. I mean, you constantly need assets from the internet, whether it comes to textures or all that kind of stuff where you need information or data that's stored online. Highly weird. Next point is that Nikkei reports that employees leaving the company's offices during their lunch break are having their absence monitored with time cards. Now, that's not very unusual. I've worked in companies where you have to sign in and sign out every time you come and go. However, it's not monitored very strictly. If you're 10 minutes late, nobody will bother. But they continue to say those who stay out too long are having their names announced throughout the company. And that is just such a disturbing thing. I mean, imagine you're sitting at work and they're announcing employee X with name has been out 15 minutes too long on his lunch break. I mean, how weird is that? That's just extremely weird. Next point is that there are cameras in the office corridors that are apparently not for security, but only monitor the movements of Konami's own employees. I mean, that's just straight out of some kind of sci-fi dystopian future thing, right? Just monitor people, what's next? You put a chip in their arm so you know at any given time where your employees are. That is just so weird. The next point is that most Konami employees do not have their own permanent company email address. Staff who must deal with people outside the company, such as sales and PR, do. However, everyone else routinely has their address randomized and changed every few months. Note that Konami employees' emails are typically made up out of few letters and then a string of numbers, but this random email changing has been going on at Konami for years. And a while back, one Konami employee actually said that it was just to prevent headhunting, right? So for other companies not to be able to contact employees at Konami. This is just so paranoid and so weird to do something like this. If you have a company where your people get paid well and everyone's happy and you have a high level of satisfaction in your company, you don't need to worry about headhunting. I think this links in so nicely with all the previous points I made, because it's just you breed all these really unhappy prisoners and then you randomize their email addresses to prevent headhunting. Anyway, next point is that Konami game developers who aren't seen as useful are reassigned to jobs as security guards, cleaning staff at the company's fitness clubs, or roles at a Apache slot machine factory. This does not include only junior staff, but also producers who have worked on well-known game titles. In 2013, Asahi News, one of Japan's largest newspapers, ran an interview with the former Konami staffer who allegedly went from game development to work in Konami's Pachi slot factory. And this is like kind of a hippodrome slot machine type of environment, causing him to experience severe depressions. And I mean, what the fuck? You have these really highly trained and skilled people working in your company, like they're game developers, they are really skilled designers, or they're really skilled programmers, like engine specialists, and then you let them clean your fitness club, or you turn them into security guards. I mean, what's wrong with these people? Like, just to have a thought like this is like just weird. I mean, I guess I can see where it comes from. If you're a company and you really want to save costs or whatever, you're like, oh wait, this guy has nothing to do. Can we not put him at the door and he dresses like a security guard and then he protects us from unwanted people to enter our building or something? Like, from an economic point of view, it kind of makes sense, but generally it's just the weirdest thing, honestly, that I've ever heard. And the last point on this list is that one former employee, upon announcing on Facebook that he might be leaving Konami and that he's got a new job somewhere else, he had all his posts monitored. Nikkei said that the remaining staff at Konami who liked the post were all reshuffled within the company. So there's like punishment going on of people liking the post. So clearly they're monitoring Facebook of the employees, who is liking what and who's, I mean, wow, this is just straight out of like a George Orwell science fiction novel. It's highly disturbing and it's really wrong. And as prestigious as it might be to work for a company like Konami, like you could not pay me enough to work in conditions like this. I would be gone within a second. Like, that is just the worst thing I've ever heard. And then on top of that, which kind of puts this whole story a little bit into perspective, I think, is just Konami's recent announcement that they kind of want to focus more on mobile games. In 2010, they had like a giant hit, I think mainly in Japan, with like Dragon Collection, which is a mobile game. Obviously, you make these games, you don't spend a lot of money in making them, but this particular game like turned around a very high revenue, so they kind of got a taste for it, and they're like, why are we still making games that cost 10 million bucks or even more? Why don't we just focus on these small games and basically treat our gamers like shit, right? Like with microtransactions and like some pay-to-win schemes and all that. So if you treat your players, your gamers like shit, why not also treat your employees like shit? And it just really makes me question how a company like that can sustain itself in the long run. It's quite interesting, like, where will Konami be in 10 years? Will like company politics like that sustain a company? Can you actually be successful in the long run with that? Or will they just race against the wall with 100 miles per hour and at some point they will just crash? There's also like the scenario of other companies who treat their employees really well, like recent trends like Google, for instance. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that they give each employee like 1 day a week off so they can fulfill their own projects, and they really encourage people to enjoy their spare time, and like things like family is very important, that everyone gets like paternity leave, and even the men get that. So that's pretty good. Facebook is similar. I spoke with a guy who's working for Facebook in America, and he's saying like it's really, really good. Like, they're treating their employees really, really fair. So it seems like there are these two company concepts next to each other. I know you can't really compare a company like Facebook with a company like Konami, that's true, but just like in the basic concept of how to run a corporation, it's so interesting to see these two concepts being so different from one another, and I'm just really keen to see where a company like Konami will go in the next 10 years with a concept like this. Anyway, guys, these are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I totally wasn't aware of this, and when I read it, I just couldn't believe it, so I had to share it with you guys. If you enjoyed the video, you can leave me a like. You can also subscribe to my channel for more. Otherwise, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time. I'm out. Bye.